Hello, and welcome to the Consider Your Mind podcast. I'm your gracious host, Eric King, and today we have with us a very special guest, the co founder and co host of the Consider Your Mind podcast, Mr. Mino Phachanh. Enjoy.
All right, all right.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to the Consider Your Mind podcast. We just released our first episode last week, so how does that make you feel, E?
Awesome, man. Just like I said, as soon as I hear that we release our first episode, it's awesome because the support we got from everybody, they really did enjoy it, and they really got something from it. You never know what you're doing for people.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's nice to see the community starting to grow a little bit, slowly but surely. The numbers will grow, but it is nice to see the reactions we've been getting lately. So,
It's off the ground.
yeah, man, I'm just excited. I'm excited to get
Yeah,
this thing
yeah,
started.
definitely. And shout out to you for making it happen with your boy Steve, man. We hadn't hooked up in again many, many moons, man. Maybe about 7 years, 6 years since I seen him.
Yeah,
And
man. It's definitely been a
yeah,
while.
man. So that was definitely an example of what they say 6 degrees of separation. You know,
Yeah.
like you're really 6 degrees of separation from anybody you need to meet. So um, yeah,
Yeah, man, it's pretty crazy, to see things really come to life. We talked about
hmm
it a couple months ago, and just getting the idea started and just running with it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I alluded to it in the first podcast, but you were the one again. Shout out to the group chat, man. Everybody
Yeah,
has to got
yeah,
group chats
definitely.
out there. They're important. And you were talking about, hey guys, we should start a podcast. Talk about the stuff we talk about here. That's where guys kind of feel safe to talk. And you know, the next day I said, hey man, I got this.com. Boom, I sent you
Yeah,
consideryourmind.com. And I'm suddenly the legend is you hit me back with the logo, and it's been on from there.
it just rolled, it rolled off the tongue really nice to, just consider your mind, and I was like, you know what, that's it, that's the name, let's go with it.
Yep,
And then
yeah,
the creative juices started flowing, started thinking about the logos and everything like that. And yeah, man, just to see it come together is pretty neat. So
yep,
definitely
yep,
a good way to start off the new year, man. 2021 it's been crazy,
yeah.
but so hopefully 2022, the year of love, let's
Yeah,
turn things around.
yeah, man. To say like 2021 was crazy, I'm like, man, these last few years, I think ever
Yeah,
since 2020, literally,
yeah,
I don't think this stopped. I told my mom, we were speaking, and she's like, hey, once things go back to normal, or we kind of speak like that with people generally. When things go back, can't wait till things go back. And I feel like we're living in what we call when we were kids. 9/11 happened when and I was like in middle school, and
yeah,
how they said after that we live in a post 9/11 world. You know, so
yeah,
everything was post 9/11 in light of everything. You couldn't say certain things. There's a way you had to behave at the, airport differently, all these things. And so same thing now with COVID. We live in a post-COVID world. The language has changed. Our
yeah,
mode of
yeah,
operating in spaces has changed. So I view it as very similar to that.
yeah, man. I mean, I think in our lifetime, being born in '86, so growing up, I
88
guess
over
those are
here.
like, yeah, the two main things that kind of I think about, just how my life has changed in general is just 9/11. That definitely shook everything around me, around us,
hmm
and then now it's the pandemic where things are also changing again. So it's kind of crazy that kind of lived through that, and just seeing the world itself change, going
hmm
from one thing that you're used to and having to really change your ways on certain things. So
Yeah, and adjust to change very quickly and very on the fly. I guess that's kind of been our life, man. So that's kind of
yeah,
why we started this podcast too, to talk about that. The fact that we have, just as people, living in this world on this rock together, we've been going through some things and ups and downs, and so thank you all for everybody listening to the Consider Your Mind podcast. We do
yeah,
really appreciate it because we want to have conversations and address things in a very honest way. And where there's honesty, there's vulnerability. And when you're around vulnerability, you can't help but you can't help but be affected, by that. And so we want to affect people in a good way. And speaking
definitely.
of affecting people, man, mental health affects people in all types of different ways. It manifests itself in a myriad of ways. It's all individual, and one of the ways I think it manifests itself is in sometimes in irrational or like erratic behavior. things that
Yes.
you just can't explain,
Yes.
and outside looking in, I believe Dave Chappelle said it best. It was like the worst thing you can call somebody is crazy because it's dismissive.
Yes.
Shout out to the great social commentator Dave Chappelle. But yeah, it's dismissive. It's too simple. Like, man, that person's like crazy. That person got all these millions of dollars, and look how they acting. That
Right.
person, got all this talent, got all this opportunity, got all this or whatever. But look how what they're deciding to, display and show in public. And I think one of the ways we as people um, can look at that is through the eyes of, again, being dismissive. That person's crazy. I don't know, man. Glad I'm not like them, type of thing. Or we got to look. I think we could address it with some compassion. Look at, hey, what's that person really going through to make them act like
Exactly.
this? You know,
You know, that
because
is
we put
true.
up. Mm-hmm.
And they all say, like, I see the memes all the time, like, check on your friend that's always laughing and smiling. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not always that behind closed doors,
Mm-hmm.
And, I learned that from experience myself, having been in those situations where I'm not okay, but I don't want people around me to start showing me pity or feeling sorry for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I put on a smile and,
Mm-hmm.
act funny or goofy or do whatever to get the attention off myself. And as far as attention, to something really going on, but you don't want to be that person to be like everyone's happy and you're the one that's being down. So
Mm-hmm.
you gotta walk around with a smile on your face all the time.
You still got to perform. You still got to go to work. Still got
Exactly.
to make money. Still got to, still got to live and live up to that expectation that people have of you, that image of you. you know. And so I feel sorry for, again, a lot of performers, a lot of people that are in the public spotlight. We're big sports guys.
Yep. Yep.
Fantasy football season, it just wrapped up. I got third place in one of my leagues, and I got
That's
knocked
not
out in the
bad.
first round in the other. Yeah, man, that was the family league too. So got to beat my cousin twice in a row at the end. He took me the
Nice.
first
Nice.
game, but yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, I didn't
so
do so hot in my leagues, so
yeah, it's all
just won't
right.
talk about that either.
Yeah, no, and it is what it is. And you know what's crazy about that is how nothing has not been affected. Like I said, like post 9/11 world, post COVID world, even fantasy football, even things like that, because all of a sudden there was another injury designation, COVID. They could have,
Yep.
they could be out because of that. And so, changing rosters and things like that. But what was wild is the I remember early on in the season, I think it was like week 8, there was Calvin Ridley for the Atlanta Falcons, the receiver.
Yep. Yep.
Um, he actually, just was on IR and then all of a sudden wasn't available. He was done for the season, and but it wasn't COVID related, it wasn't injury related, and he actually explained himself on Twitter, on
Mm-hmm.
Halloween, October 31st. And the thing about it is, again, I think some people are not into fantasy football or football at all. They think it's petty, but he was actually going to be the number one receiver because Julio Jones was gone
Yep.
now over to Tennessee. So a lot of people picked him highly in the draft. Calvin really, oh man, he's good. Guy to Alabama, I think he played. He's going to be, be able to take over the shoes and have a really great season. Everybody was looking at him. Hey, this is a great receiver. Now he's going to be the opportunity to be the number one. Can't wait to see what he does. And
Mm.
all of a sudden, bam, in the middle of the season, he's not available anymore. But it, again, like I said, it wasn't due to injury, wasn't due, to the pandemic, per se. He wasn't on the COVID list. He released a statement on Twitter saying, "I need to step away from football at this time to focus on my mental well-being. This will help me to be the best version of myself now and in the future. I want to thank my teammates, the entire Atlanta Falcons organization, our great fans, my friends, my family, and all of our supporters during this time." So he released that on Twitter, like basically explaining, I'm doing this for my mental well-being, my personal well-being. Stepping away from an organization that, a fan base, again, a lot of supporters that, couldn't wait to see him on the field, had nothing but cheers,
Yeah.
for the man. But whatever he was going through personally in his life, he made the decision to prioritize that over go ahead and just performing and doing, you know, the grin and smile and bear it and just keep catching footballs thing. And I think
Yeah.
that, that's to be commended,
Definitely. I mean, it shows that it's everyday people, it's celebrities, it's athletes. We all deal with mental health, and everyone deals with it differently. And for him to step up and actually mention that, it's huge. A lot of people don't, in the public eye, they don't really want to talk about it or whatever the case may be. But for a professional athlete. I think someone else in the Olympics did that earlier this year, didn't she? In the Olympics team.
Um,
She,
I think
I
I know
forgot
what
her
you're
name.
talking about.
Yeah, I
I
forgot
think I
her
know
name,
what you're
but
talking about.
she also did not want to compete. I believe in the finals. I believe, or something like that, where she
Oh,
wanted
Simone
to take.
Biles, you mean?
Yeah, Simone.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think that was yeah. It was the stress she was talking about, but she did kind of have an injury where she was getting kind of vertigo, or the spins they called it, where she couldn't tell what was up, was down,
Hmm.
stuff like that. But a lot of people did criticize her, and I thought from what I had seen of her, man, she's a heck of a teammate. She really supports. I know gymnasts are very close, so for her maybe to pull out of individual events because she's not doing well, I could see that. But I was like pulling out of the team events when you know you can help your team, there must be something deeper going on, you know. And so I think again we have to we putting ourselves in their shoes. If I had the opportunity to be Olympics, I'd do this. If I got paid $1 million to catch a football, I wouldn't let anything stop me. Yeah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it just goes, man. It's just mental health. It's a very, very serious thing. I think that
mhm,
people should take. I never understood the stigma behind it. I get it, but
mhm.
it's like why? You're keeping your feelings bottled up. Whatever it is you're dealing with, you're keeping it bottled up. At some point, it's going to explode. And
Yes, because there's a different way to handle things. I mentioned, Calvin Ridley, a second ago, for the Atlanta
hmm
Falcons, the receiver stepping away mid-season, quietly, so to speak. But recently, I guess last week, Antonio Brown, he decided to take a different route. For again, those are non-football heads.
AB,
AB, man, he's a great,
yeah, that's
Hall of Fame receiver. Just won a Super Bowl with the Bucks last year, but in the middle of the game, man, like again, third quarter, right
yeah
after
that
halftime,
that was
just
wild. I did
just
not
acted a fool.
I didn't expect the I didn't
Nah,
expect that at all. I'm sure not anyone you know
no.
did. I didn't even know what was going on. At first, I thought it was like a halftime thing. He was just whatever,
Hmm.
but because I had Red Zone on, so I just saw a clip of that, and I was like, man, what the hell's
Hmm.
going on? And oh, he quit. He walked off the field. I'm like, what? But
Hmm.
yeah, um,
Yeah, man.
that's
And
another
shout
thing.
out to the group chat, man. I found out in my fantasy football league, little group chat we have, all of us in it, saying, AB just quit. And I'm like, what? Like,
Yeah,
how's that
it's
possible? They're playing a game. How do you quit? Like, what does that mean? And then you see obviously the footage, and again, acting erratic, something you never see. Like, I've never
yeah.
yet never seen that. I think the closest one was Vernon Davis's brother. He played for the Bills, something Davis, and he quit at like halftime. He went into the locker room and
Oh
changed
yeah,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
then left. Yeah, but he didn't
I
like
remember
was
that.
on the field taking off his pads,
Yeah,
stripping
he walked
down,
out.
bare chested and waving bye to people, making a scene, and then like asking for, again we have to look at these things with compassion. I want to harness my inner Tom Brady as he addressed this.
Yeah,
Um, but it is hard. Like when you're watching it, you're like, oh my God, it's so hard not to judge. But now that I'm, addressing my mental health more and began in therapy, I'm starting to see, hey man, if I didn't address certain things that I have going on from a mental standpoint, it can come out like this. It can come out in an outburst. It can, boil over, man. So.
and this. I mean, I was hearing an argument about that too. How is it CTE? Is it from the hit that he got back in the days when they played against the Bengals? Uh,
Hmm.
what or is this
Yeah,
just
with
him?
Burfict, Montez Burfict, man.
Right.
He got hit really, really hard, man.
That
Those
that was a
replays are
vicious hit.
crazy. Yeah,
That
and
was a
people have
vicious
been
hit.
saying he's had kind of erratic behavior ever since then. So
Yeah.
again, going
And,
back to the beginning of the show, mental health is important. Mental illness and all these things can be, um, it's individual. You don't know what can set it off. Sometimes it could be something you're born with, something you have a predisposition to, and sometimes you can have an impact. Something comes into your life, physically hits you in the head, and you cannot be, the same.
yeah, man. I mean, the other side of it that they were arguing that is it mental health? Is that an easy cop out, answer to
Mm,
his actual character? Like, is that who he
that's true.
really is? And that's another thing why some people would use it. In my working career itself, like I've seen people use that as an excuse to not do something.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like I've seen it as an excuse to
Oh, kind of
just
like
taking the
making a
easy way
joke out of
out.
the mental health today. You're like, I'm gonna
Exactly.
take
For
it.
someone that does deal with that, that's like a slap in your face. Like I actually deal with this, and you're
Mm-hmm.
using it as a by means to not do something. You know what I mean, or to be or for people to feel sorry for you or something.
Yeah.
Like a free pass. I'm like, for the people that actually deal with that and actually know what it feels like,
Hmm.
it's like I don't use that as an excuse for anything.
Yeah, no, yeah. And
So
speaking of that, you actually, you've been very vulnerable and opening up about your experiences and your journey with mental health. And to give the listeners a little bit of history with us, I met Mino back when I was like 22 or 23.
yeah, it's been a
Right out of
while.
college. Yeah, right out of college, man. So it's
2010,
been about 2010.
2011.
Yeah, that's when I graduated college. So I was working at yeah, beginning of 2011. I was working at a gas station because again, graduated
Yep,
in a
yep,
recession. Another thing that happened during our lifetime, you
yep.
know, yeah, that whole Great Recession thing. So I graduated in the middle of that, and I'm working at a gas station, and I got the opportunity then from there to work at a part time at a bank and a grocery store. So shout out to the grocery store
Yeah.
banks of the world out there. So, and that's where I met Mr. Mino. So it was my first experience in the sales, and he was my assistant manager, and he was showing me the ropes because he could talk to everybody. He had no fear. He would just go out there and talk. Hey, trying to get this checking account. Hey, trying to sell you that. Hey, how you doing? I mean that like, and so that. He was kind of my trainer and my introduction into the sales world and into the world of just being a real people person for a living, man. So
Yeah, man, that was great times. It's just fun. You gotta make the best out of everything. So working
even
at
though
the
we was
bank,
broke. Yep.
right? Just gotta make have fun with it. You catch
Yeah.
me, people that know me and know what we're talking about. There was a bank that we worked at that was inside a grocery store, and yeah, it's
Guarantee Bank. It's not
yeah,
even
yeah,
around no more.
yeah.
Guarantee
It's not
Bank. If
around no
people
more.
remember that in the Twin Cities, that were inside of like the Rainbows, which aren't even there
Yeah,
no more. The grocery store that's not even there no more. So,
and it's like the interaction with people is just amazing. Like, what can you
hmm,
do? You'll see me singing down the aisles, singing,
I saw
dancing
this
down the
man
food
literally
aisles, because
dancing. Yes, I saw him dancing down grocery aisles. There was
yeah,
nobody around. He thought, man, he'll just bust a move. You know.
that was fun times, fun
Yeah,
fun
man.
times, man.
Yeah, man. But and then as you get a little older, life happens to us and things like that. And then you actually were my again, just like in my introduction to the sales and the people world, you were actually the first person to tell me anything about or bring up the idea of anxiety or mental health or that you were getting that addressed.
Yeah,
And so that's why again, coming full circle for me and you, starting this platform and doing this, you were actually my introduction to even thinking about, um, the idea of anxiety, the idea of depression, because I knew you. I knew you weren't faking. I knew if you were telling me, something was wrong, if you're not up to go out, if you're not, feeling your usual self, if I'm seeing you acting different, I knew it was genuine because I seen you act, quote unquote normal. I knew
right.
Mino. And then so when you were going through this, I didn't, have it was confusing, but I want to commend you because you did communicate it. Like you said, we want to stop the stigma of saying, "Hey, I got a problem." You should be able to communicate to your friends, and so I commend you for that because you would actually call me if you were going through some type of anxiety or anything like that. You would hit me
Yeah,
up, and that was I was kind of like made me feel accountable. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew if you called, hey man, it was serious. Pick up. My boys, need something
right,
from me,
right.
and so that actually helped me grow. As a friend and as a person. Hey, can you really be there when somebody needs you? And so I just want to thank you again from back then. From years and years ago,
Yeah, man.
which we're about to get into it. You've been starting on the vulnerability, open yourself up, asking for help thing, man. So
Yeah,
shout
it
out to
was.
you for that.
That's the main thing I would really want to, put out there is, if you're dealing with stuff, speak up, talk to somebody. In the long run, it helps. Trust me.
Hmm.
You don't want to be. I've been there. I've been through hell, like to the bottom, rock bottom, and people know this. And you have to ask for help. When
Hmm.
you need it, and it's enough of that BS of I'm a man, guy. I could do it on my own now. No,
Hmm. Yeah,
let's not.
man.
Humble yourself before life does it for you.
Boy, humble yourself lest ye be humbled. I think a book says that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the main thing, guys. I mean, you're dealing with depression, anxiety, bipolar, anything. Just speak up. Let people know. Let the people closest to you know what you're going through. Because when there be times when you don't want to talk to nobody, that simple, just checking up on you, how you doing, goes a long way. So
Hmm.
trust me.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. Again, you never know what you're doing for people. And so, actually, just to transition right into that, let's give people a more background, on yourself. Take us the timeline up until you started to really address, your issues with anxiety. What was the timeline up until then? Who was Mino? How did
Yeah,
we get here?
so it was pretty much obviously what started it all was almost like a little relationship thing, as most things happen. Relationship, you let your guard down. You're happy. You're sharing things, with somebody, and for
And
it to
what
turn
year?
around.
What year was this? When was
This
this
was
around?
2010,
Okay.
2011.
Okay. Yeah. Pretty soon after I
Yes,
met you.
yes. Shortly after, we met and everything like that, and it just happens to be I was going with, seeing somebody at that time. I guess you could say that, and to
Hmm.
find out that, she wasn't as truthful or as honest as I like.
What who you thought she was? Yeah.
Yeah, me and the other person found out. We exchanged information, and yeah, things just hit the fan at that point. I won't go into it,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
my I was so angry. I remember being so mad. Like every anything that I felt, pain and hurt, I wanted her to feel. I wanted her to feel exactly how I felt, except worse.
Mm.
And it became an obsession of wanting her to feel like, how could you do that to me? Like I've never done anything to this, level to anyone. I would never do anyone this wrong. Like
Yeah.
I would never do that to somebody. And how could someone do that to somebody? And just in general, like, what kind of person are you? I was so wrapped up in anger that it became my life, and for like a month straight, I was just angry, and just anytime I saw her or hear her name, I was just pissed. Like it became so like obsessed with feeling this anger towards her, and it ate me up to the point
Hmm.
where I just remember when it first happened, my first anxiety attack. I didn't know what it was at first, but it was a Friday night. I was going over to a friend's house. She moved into a new place and wanted everyone to come check it out. So I said sure. At this time, my roommates, they're out of town at this point. They all went to Chicago, and I was home by myself. So I decided to go out to the friend's house that night. Had a couple of drinks, a little dinner party, home housewarming party thing. So I drove. When it all ended, I was driving home. It was 11, 12 midnight. I was about 5 minutes from my apartment, and all of a sudden my heart just started pounding for no reason. And that went on for like 10 seconds. Went away. I was like, oh, what was that? That was crazy because I kind of felt short of breath too. So I'm driving. All of a sudden, it happened again, and this time I felt dizzy, cold sweats, heart beating, just confused. And I hurry up and got to my parking lot in my apartment, and I got out my car, felt dizzy, kind of leaned back on my car, called my friend at that time, and asked her to come pick me up to go to the hospital. She came, picked me up. We didn't even end up going in the hospital because I felt better by that time. And that night, I, just said, you know what? I think I just need to sleep. Dropped me back off. Went to sleep. Woke up the next day, and I just felt out of whack. I
Hmm.
felt, I felt like I was drugged up or something. I just,
So, so, so to be clear, so your friend, she did come and get you. She got you to the hospital, but by that time you were feeling better.
yeah.
Like
By that
it
time, I
kind
was
of
feeling
was feeling
better.
better. So you just said, hey, let's just go home. I'm tired, and deal with it from there. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. So the next day I woke up and then I still felt off. I didn't know what's going on. Went to the doctors. They said, "Oh, you're probably just exhausted. Get some rest." So I, did what I normally did at that time. I came home, relaxed. I went to the gym, did a little workout, got my body moving. Came back home, and it happened again. Another anxiety panic attack. Where this time I was like outside of my apartment,
Hmm.
and I was just confused and I couldn't move. I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to go in the apartment because I felt like something bad was going to happen. Didn't know what,
Oh wow.
but I didn't want to go in. So I was just staying outside for like an hour or two, just pacing back and forth, just confused, not knowing what's going on. Felt dizzy. I felt high without
Mm.
smoking. That's what I felt
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And
You was somewhere else.
yeah, and then it went away, and I felt fine. And then, I had, I I didn't miss work for like about a month. I had to go on a little FMLA leave for a month.
Okay, so you took so that caused you to actually take the FMLE leave to you to step away, from your job to Because was you getting anxiety? You were afraid it was gonna happen at the job, or
Yep, exactly. I was afraid
okay.
that was gonna happen to me at work while I'm talking to a potential customer, client,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
an interaction with my boss, or whatever the case may be. I didn't want to have that happen at work. And besides, if I didn't feel like myself, I didn't want to be there. Like
Mm. No, no,
so.
that's good, man. That's what that is for. FMA leave. Family and medical leave. I believe it is. It's called like that.
Yep, yep,
Yeah. So again, shout out to taking the resources that you have, and utilizing that. I do it, like, again, bringing it back to what we spoke about earlier. That's akin to, I think, what maybe Calvin Ridley did, with the Falcons. Like, hey man, I got to take a leave. I don't want this to affect my performance.
right.
I think a lot of people will feel you on that, man. You don't want, especially guys, man, we don't want to be weak, what I'm saying, especially at the job. If we're interacting with people, if we're in sales, we're in a front facing type of position. We don't want to, we don't want this issue to come up. And because people remember that stuff, like, as much,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, they're not as sensitive. People aren't always as sensitive if we like, and we don't want that to, mess up our bag or fumble the bag, so to speak,
Right.
long term. So again, shout out to you for that awareness, for taking that time. And so during that time when you took that month off, what kind of things were you doing?
I was honestly seeing a therapist.
Okay.
I was seeing a therapist. I
Okay.
really
How did
saw.
that? Yeah. How did talk about that process a little bit?
For me, okay. So the thing about me is that I've always been the person that people always came to for advice.
Hmm.
Whether it's about relationships or whatever, things going on in the home or things with themselves. I was always that person that people came to. And I just always had an understanding of how, I guess you say, just life in general, how things go, how you should feel, what you should do.
Hmm.
So I've always been that person. So when I went to see the therapist, everything they were telling me about maybe you should try this, maybe you should try that is stuff I already knew from reading
Hmm.
books and reading up on mental health and everything like that. Because I was really like, I want to get on top of this. I don't want,
So
you
that's what
know,
I was wondering. Like during that month you're taking off, you were
yeah.
probably on Google. You're just googling away, looking up everything.
Yep, I was Googling, I was talking to some friends, I was, just talking to whoever, and they said, maybe you should try a therapist. I went to see a therapist, and to be honest, it just, I guess it just wasn't for me. I was almost
Okay.
looking for them to confirm what I've been doing and what I've been telling myself or trying to learn myself is correct. Those are the things you should do.
Yeah.
Taking a deep breath, finding something to ground yourself, close your eyes, count to 10, deep breathing, stuff like that. Just things I've already been doing. So
Hmm.
to see the therapist, I guess you could get a second opinion, professional opinion at that point, at
Hmm.
that fact, to say, okay, I am doing the right things that I am doing. So I just gotta keep telling myself that. But then with anxiety, it always takes a negative spin for you. Like, oh, you're just telling yourself that. That's really not what you're supposed to do,
Hmm.
and you would doubt yourself. My anxiety would get triggered from anything and everything at that time.
Oh, okay.
It would be worst case scenario. It would be like,
Your
hey,
mind always goes to the worst case scenario. I get
yeah.
that. Yeah.
It's like, hey, you want to go downtown? It's like, no, I don't like the traffic. And plus, what if a car hits me? Okay, how the hell did I go from that to a car hits
Yeah.
you? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow.
so yeah,
Okay.
my thought process ever since then has always been 0 to 100 real fast. And on top of that, I'm just naturally an emotional person.
Hmm.
I guess they said I'm an empath, if that's the correct term. Where I feel really deeply about things. Or
Hmm.
if someone was going through, if someone felt sad, I would feel that same sadness with them, or feel like I completely understand them. So it's
Hmm.
like, even as a kid, I remember if my mom was upset about something, she would cry. So for some reason, I would cry with her because I felt that pain too.
That's deep.
So it's weird, and I don't know. I'm just, I guess, spiritually, emotionally, I'm just really aware and connected. So it's like, yeah, I just feel deeply, and I could feel. I have
Hmm.
an understanding of someone's emotions. So, but yeah,
So
that's a
to
whole other
combine that
thing.
with the anxiety, now you're super sensitive to everything.
Yeah,
Now everything
yeah,
is heightened. You know what I'm saying? You feel like you can
exactly.
feel, everything to the extreme.
Yep.
So it reminds me of that scene again. I'm about to nerd out real quick, but like X Men when like Professor X, like he said he's like a kid, and all these voices in his head were driving him crazy. Like he got extra like sensitive to hearing everything, feeling everything.
Mm-hmm.
He had to really train himself to just, tune out what he wanted to hear. And that was like, in a sense, like your superpower, activating. And all of a sudden, it's like, vroom, vroom, everything's too much, you know.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like, and besides doing the therapist thing and doing all these exercises and breathing exercises, and the gym really helped me out. It allowed me
Hmm.
to focus on something other than just letting my mind wander. That's the main thing. I'm sure everyone deals with it. Your mind wanders. A normal person who doesn't deal with anxiety will probably just, everything is normal. For me, this is the thought process. Okay, I'll sit there and I'll look at the TV. I'll see an ad for McDonald's. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
McDonald's not good. Let's see if I want. Do I want something from McDonald's? Am I hungry? I'm like, no, I'm not hungry. I'll eat later. Cool. So that thought process goes. Then out of nowhere, I'll be like, but what if I get in the car and like a deer comes on the road while I'm driving to McDonald's? I could die.
Man,
I would never hear my mom ask me what kind of food I want to eat tonight again. I'll never get, stuff like that. And it'll just go on. And then it's like, if I die, where do I really go? It's nothing. It's black. Like you'll just keep going and going until I have to literally in my head, I would tell you, stop.
yeah, you have to like chill,
I would
time
just say,
out.
stop. I would literally have to say that. And like either out loud or in my head, I'll just yell out, stop. And I'll get my attention back to whatever I'm doing.
Hmm.
And I'm like, damn. Like, and what makes it worse is that I'm a curious person. Oh man, like if I find something
Yeah.
interesting, I'm obsessed with that, and
Yeah, that's why your
search
creativity,
it
that's
out.
why you're the creative director of the show. This is very, yes.
It's just crazy. My
Curious
mind's
guy.
always racing 100 miles an hour, and at times it gets to be too much. Like you really feel like you're gonna go crazy. Like that's one of my worst fears is losing my mind,
And
going
again,
crazy.
going back to that again, because it's dismissive, just going crazy. Like no one's gonna want to deal with you if you're labeled as crazy. If you feel like you're, on with that C word, like all of a sudden it's over for you.
Yeah,
That's when again you feel like there's no help, and that's when people, when you get to the point, again, we don't want to use that, word here, but that's the point where a lot of people start to think about, self deletion.
yeah.
It'd be easier not to be here, any longer.
It all ties
And
together, man.
hmm
It's and that thought. I'll tell you this. I do not deal with suicidal thoughts,
hmm
but I've had suicidal thoughts. And the time that okay, here's another thing. When I went to see a
that's real.
doctor,
That's very real, man.
they wanted me to take a medication for my anxiety called Celexa. I've never taken anything for anxiety before, so I'm like, okay, if this is gonna help me, cool. I took Celexa, and I remember I was at the Mall of America. We went to
Hmm.
eat bubble gum, delicious place by the way.
Okay. Bubba
And we're
Gump. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
yeah,
shrimp plate. Yeah, yeah.
and outside of bubble gum, maybe like 100 feet from it, or maybe longer. I don't know. There was an exit to go to the parking ramp next to bubble gum, and at that time I smoked cigarettes,
Yeah.
and so I went out there to have a cigarette. And while on this medication, I was staying on the edge next to the rail, and all I could think about was I need to jump off this ramp.
Oh.
It scared the hell out of me because I couldn't stop thinking about jumping off the ramp. Luckily, my
Mm.
friends came out to join me for a cigarette. I ran to them. I literally ran to them, and
Wow.
they look at me like, "You all right?" They're like, "I gotta go inside. I'll meet you inside."
And this
So
is at the Mall of America?
this is at the Mall of America,
Yeah,
and
yep, yep. Bubba Gump there,
so
yeah.
I really feel for people that deal with suicide thoughts. You can't stop. It was like 5 minutes of like fear all over my head. Like I just could not stop. Like I kept saying, "You need to jump. It's better to jump. All the stress you're doing, like it was just
Mm.
my mind was on its own at that point. It went rogue, and it scared the hell out of me. So I stopped taking Celexa, and ever since then, I vowed that I would never take any medication for anxiety. Not saying that whoever goes through anxiety or anything like that, if you feel you have to take medication, by all means, just do. Please see a doctor about that and get professional licensed help. But
Yo,
for
yo,
me,
man.
for
Yes.
myself, I decided for myself, I did not want to take anything because I did not ever want anything to make me feel like that again. And it took my worst fear of having feeling of losing control and not being able to control your mind or thoughts that was happening to me for 5 minutes. So, and that's
Longest
another
five
thing.
minutes of your life, boy.
Yep. And then on top of that, that's when I start really looking into self help, self love, self
Mm-hmm.
care. I went to start going back to the gym. I started getting back to my routine that I was doing. I stopped hanging around people that were so negative. You know, if I wanted to do something, I felt like it was a good idea. I wanted to surround myself with people that would support me and, have same goals. They just want to succeed and do well in life. So I started cutting people out to start hanging around with everyone to stop, just start really trying to focus on myself. And that was, by then, it's been 2011, 2012. And it's been a daily battle ever since, man. Like, it's
Okay.
some days I still have my moments, but I remind myself, like, hey, I'm still here. I'm
Mm-hmm.
still breathing. Continue doing the things that I do, and I will be fine. Whatever happens, happens. But as long as I know that I'm doing what I need and what I can do for myself, that's all that matters, and that's all I can do. And I have to accept the fact that it's going to be the battle for the rest of my life. I have to accept that I deal with anxiety. I have to accept that I'm going through this and just face it head on. Surround yourself with, you know, good people.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with positive people, and you'll be okay. And
Oh,
that's what I
okay.
tell myself every day. That's what I've been doing since I've been diagnosed with anxiety disorder. And there's other medical things that I deal with as well that piles up to make certain days harder. But we'll get into that at a different time.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's pretty much what I did after my month away from work back then, and I took that time to really learn how to take care of myself.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I like, shout out to again our first guest last week, Steve. How he says, "Yo, man, I'm actively in recovery." I like how you said, like, "Yo, I accept this. This is, I actively deal with anxiety." You feel me? Like,
Yeah,
and just and to be real about that, so you don't fool yourself either. Put yourself in a bad position. Let our ego get in the way. Like, you know what, man, I got this. I'm over this. I'm da da da. Nah, man. Actually, hey, it really is, a one day at a time type of thing. It's a and it's very personal because no one can really tell how much progress you made. Like again, because I was around you during that time.
yep,
I,
yep.
I was I was around you, and so to hear you even talk about it like now, man, it blows my mind because you know again, the Mino that I knew, at the time, he was taking me on my first party bus, Mino. You know, talking
Those
about
were the
like being
times.
afraid, getting in a car accident, man. We were hopping on buses. I don't even know if we knew
I
them people
know.
like that, man.
I
Like,
didn't know them either. And that's
you
that's another
know,
thing. That's another thing that I wanted to point out for people. It's like, for me, like, how people saw me meant a lot to me because I wanted to make sure everyone around me was having fun. I want to make sure everyone around me was just having a good time. So some people might see me as I was trying to be a life of the party or the center of attention and stuff. But for real, I was just being me because I want to make sure people are having a good time, and that was just me, and that's how I've always been. I you know I live off the energy that I surround myself with people with good energy, and that's what I live off of. Is I get energy from people. So, and for me, with dealing with anxiety and having to deal with this other thing, it didn't allow me to be myself fully. So, a lot of
yeah,
times
there
I
you
would
go.
say no, I don't want to come hang out because I felt like I couldn't be myself. I felt like I couldn't be Mino 100% of the time, and I didn't want people to be like, oh, he's not dancing and singing around. Is something wrong with him? Is he sad? I didn't want that attention. I didn't want that. So I was like, if I can't be myself and be who I really am, and I don't have the energy to be myself, then I don't want to be around people because I don't want to bring people down. And that's why I've disappeared for so long.
Man, that's very relatable, man. I think a lot of people are gonna relate to you on that because I'm one of those people who care about how I'm seen too. Want to put my my best foot forward, and if you're not, on today, you're not ready to perform, you're not ready to fulfill that role that people have for you in their lives, you'd rather not just be seen at all, as
Yeah.
opposed to fall short or people ask, hey man, what's wrong? You know,
Mm.
you don't really want to do that, but that's the internal struggle. That really is an internal struggle because no one can see it. Because you say, "Hey man, come out with us." You're like, "Nah, man, I'm good tonight." You really could just be good tonight, or like that fine line,
Yep. Yep.
especially with being social. And as we become adults and we get busier and busier in life, it is easier and easier to isolate. And
Yeah.
that's not good for our minds. Actually, just even on a physical level, not interacting, isolating ourselves, it actually does deteriorate, our minds, and deteriorate us over time. So staying being still willing to reach out, being social, because again, you would still reach out to me during this time. Like, I knew if you hit me up, if you were calling me, no matter what, like, okay, it must be something serious, it must be something, important. You must, um, need something right now. But that was cool because hey, I knew you was always there for me too. Anytime I was going through what I was going through, again, you was like that empath thing you said earlier. That's real big because that's why everybody went to you for advice. That's why everybody was wanting to hang. Hey, Mino, what about this? Because you really, we understood that you cared, just as a friend, and so it helped me to be, like I said, return that favor as a friend, to you. And again, it's really kind of brought us, all the way here.
Yeah, I
Well, yeah,
mean,
which is crazy.
that's the thing too. It's just like, I mean, to get to that point, it's, believe me, for people that deal with it, it's a lonely place
Hmm.
and to be, and to, I've always taken my time by myself very seriously. I enjoy my alone time to the
Hmm.
point where I've gotten so used to it, and I I really don't like it. I hate being I hate being by myself, and
No,
but
I
I've
feel you, man.
because of the time that I have by myself, like I'm able to tolerate it. I'm able to be by myself, and I'm fine with that
Hmm.
because now I know what I can do.
Hmm.
Whether I'm by myself dealing with things, I know that I can deal with it. But it doesn't happen overnight. Again, this is 2022 now, and I've been dealing with this since pretty much 2010, 2011.
Hey, very important to
It's a
note,
long
people.
battle.
Note that. Yeah, note that, man. This is not some overnight, thing. You're not just gonna have the solutions. And so, I hoping through the journey, with this platform, and as we continue to, put ourselves out there, make ourselves
Hmm.
vulnerable, and bring in, resources for people out there that's looking to take their mental health, to the level that it needs to be. Um, I'm, I'm, I know it's a journey and it's going to be public. This
Yes,
is real life and we're living it. You know.
exactly. And for people that are listening, like again, we made this for people to share their stories, to come out, open up, tell us what's going on, have the conversation with us, because for the longest time I felt like I was alone, like for real. I've had one other person to talk to, but what if that person's not available? You know, I needed a place. I want a place where I could just come, know that people are here or dealing with similar things, worse things. Maybe I could be an ear for them, or they can
Mhm.
be an ear for me. And build a community where hey, it is okay not to be okay. If you're going through something, it's okay to cry. Guy, girl,
Mhm.
don't matter. Like y'all have
Mhm.
feelings, y'all go through stuff, and just it's a safe place here. So it's like
Yeah.
whatever you're dealing with, just let us know. I mean, if you don't want to be out in public, you could
Yeah,
message
we're
us.
and this is
You
very
know,
important. This platform is not about being messy, getting in people's business like that. No, 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 no. That's bad for your mental health.
and
Oversharing. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? That's a thing too, man. So we're not trying to put it out there like that. But I'm glad you said that. Like, hey, this is a place you can, cry, so to speak. And it's funny because we have to say that because obviously we're fellas, we're dudes on the podcast, and so I guess this is a men's platform, but this is about mental health. It's for everybody. My first article that I, put out, our first blog post was mental health for all, and I meant that everybody. It's definitely not a gender thing, not at all. It's not a racial thing, not at all, man. This when the rain falls, it falls on everybody. So we just wanted to make that clear from the outset that this is
yes,
a platform again for everybody. Why? Because mental health is important. Period. It's not important for some people and not others. It's not important for rich people, not poor people. It's not important for men and not women. No. If you're going through this life like we are, then yeah, you need some help too. Because we just briefly went over the things that we've been going through just living here, starting off when we were, teenagers, even before that, going through 9/11, bam. So that's when we're in middle school. Then all of a sudden we get to college and it's like the Great Recession, the housing collapse happens. Boom, a lot of us were affected like that because we had parents that got laid off and things like that. So, um,
Yeah.
and then now we're adults and going through this the pandemic thing. And to your point, we don't want to be alone, and you're actually we're dealing in a time where it's easier to isolate than ever. It's easier. It's encouraged.
Exactly.
It's encouraged. There are lockdowns and things like that. You know, so I think it's important. Again, we use this digital space, and I thank God that we're in a time where we can connect, and so we don't have to feel alone because you're not.
Exactly.
That's the biggest lie. That's the biggest trick. Is to say, hey, you're the only one going through this, or you're alone, or nobody's gonna understand you. Nope. No, there's actually entire community. There's a lot more people than you think, a lot closer, matter of fact, than
Yeah.
you think, that is going through something very similar, um,
Yeah.
or can relate, or can just relate to you. There's a lot more sympathetic ears out there than people realize, especially in a social media world where everything becomes a meme. When you instantly, if you put yourself out there, man, poor Tyrese, the actor from the Fast and the Furious and all of that stuff, man. He cried cried about, I think it was his daughter that he couldn't see, just want to see, but baby, and now, bam, all over the internet. It's terrible, man. Even Michael Jordan, they did it to MJ. The man is a meme, the crying Jordan meme. Like the
Legendary.
emotions, it's legendary. Like, but that's deep though. It's like emotionally vulnerable moments. Those get turned into like again. Those go viral. Those um, continue into perpetuity. And so we don't want to be that like that. I hope again we laugh, we joke, we're pretty, especially me and this dude, bro. Like yeah, it gets silly
Yeah. And
sometimes.
guys, give us some time as well. Give us some time as well. This is our first time doing things of this
Hmm.
nature, being on an internet, being on a platform like this. So, give us some time to grow and learn it ourselves. And we invite you guys to grow with us. And
Hmm.
this is something that we want to do.
Hmm.
Give back in any way that we can to let people
Hmm.
that know that we are listening, we are here, we are everyday people that deal with mental stress, mental illnesses, or we know somebody that goes through it. So, you
Absolutely.
know, to be here and share your stories and everything and join the conversation means a lot. Again, we'll wrap it up here for this week.
Hmm.
If you guys did not see our first or hear our first episode, we did have our buddy Steve here from moreawareness.tees.com. He
Hmm.
pretty much took us through a little journey of him to sobriety. So if you missed that out, go ahead and check that out on the website. Other than that, it's been fun. It's been a good talk.
Yeah.
If anything, man, we'll see you guys next week. And one last thing, we also have blogs up. So if you go to www.consideryourmind.com, it is for podcasts and blogs. So if you'd like to read up on some articles, Eric and I put up some articles there for now, but more will obviously be put up later as time goes by.
Yep, definitely. And specifically check out Mino's article documenting what he talked about today, his first anxiety attack. Definitely go check that one out. Um, because it's important that we put that out there so that people again can relate. Even as he was, as I was reading that, I was telling to myself, I was like, there's somebody that probably went through this exact situation, had those exact same feelings, and this is really gonna really speak to them. So consideryourmind.com. Definitely go check out our blog post. And anything else,
Okay.
Mino?
I mean, if you guys have questions or want us to cover any topics or share your stories, just definitely contact us, message us. We're on Facebook as well, Instagram.
All consider
So,
your mind. So, yep,
yep,
under
so
everything.
just hit us up. But yeah, that's it for me. I mean, until next week, we'll see you then. Thanks for
All right,
tuning in,
y'all.
guys.
Peace.